The Hard Count is presented by BetMGM. As y'all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this college football season. We'll be using their lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for all of you each week. Now, when you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM, use bonus code HARDCOUNT, and you'll get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. 1, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code HARDCOUNT. 2, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. Step 3, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code HARDCOUNT when you sign up. Let's make this college football season 1 for the books. Let's make it legendary. Let's get to the show. Welcome into the Hard Count, the show for college football fans that keep their Saturday traditions sacred. For me, it's Chick-fil-A breakfast. For you, it might be mowing the lawn. For you, it might be your specific coffee place you go to. Regardless, though, we only have so many more weekends guaranteed for your specific football team that we can execute that tradition for. So glad to have a part of this. It is Thursday, November 20th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet here, man. Week 13. About to be ours to have in the hole. We got a few more takes that we want to get off our chest for a couple of these games before we get into the madness that is Week 13. But I want to start with this. For those of y'all that were tuned into the college football playoff rankings on Tuesday night, you saw the Miami Hurricanes just chilling there in the number 13 spot. And by nature of them being the highest-ranked ACC team, they're in your college football playoff bracket at the 11th spot. Now, I understand this. Miami's ACC title path for them to be the team out of the ACC that's guaranteed a spot is very, very slim. It's very slim. Like, they have a 6% chance per ESPN to even make the ACC title game. All right? So I thought about, as we did this segment, walking through the way that Miami could find their way to Charlotte. They got to have this team lose and that team lose. And I was like, dude, this is confusing to read. To try to explain this to our audience in video format, 1, it'd be hard. 2, it'd be kind of boring. So let's just leave it at that. 6% chance for Miami to find their way to the ACC title game. If Miami's ACC title path was a literal path, it would be blocked off because it's not safe to actually walk on. Like, you would never recommend a friend or a loved one to take the path that Miami would have to take to get to the ACC title game. But I say all that to also say this. Miami might do this. Miami is positioned very advantageously in that 13th ranked spot. They just keep climbing week after week without playing anybody, to keep it a buck. Now, all that formidable. And they were 18th in the first rankings, 15th in the second rankings. Again, 13th in these most recent rankings. Miami's at-large bid is very much so alive for them to get to the college football playoff. Now, what you're trying to do if you're Miami is get to what they call a comparative pool in the mind of the committee that is the same pool as Notre Dame. Reason why I say that, the committee breaks down these teams in groups of teams, and they rank them accordingly. They move on to the next pool. Okay, so right now, Miami, you're saying, wait, we have a head-to-head over Notre Dame. Why are we not ranked ahead of them? Well, according to the committee, you're not yet in the same comparative pool, right? Now, if you find yourself in the same comparative pool, with Notre Dame being ranked 9th, Miami being ranked 13th, you have to think you're like one pool over now, if you're using resort language. If you get to that same pool as Notre Dame, the head-to-head at that point, then, according to the committee, becomes a premium. Okay, so what you're trying to do here, if you're Notre Dame, or if you're Miami, rather, to try and chase Notre Dame, style points and pray for the success of Pitt this weekend. Right? You are hoping, praying, wishing that Pitt walks into Bobby Dodd, puts leather belt to just soft cheeks against Georgia Tech, and just absolutely rocks their boat. That is what you are hoping happens, because in that way, Pitt, maybe they sneak back into the top 25. Maybe you get the optics boost of having beaten a ranked Pitt team. And also now, don't forget this, Pitt, common opponent of Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat them by 22. That is the high score to beat on the video game if you're Miami. Okay, so you're praying for that to happen. You're also praying on the downfall of others. Now, on this show, we never pray for anyone's downfall. However, if you're Miami, this is the situation you're in. You're hoping BYU loses. You're hoping Bama loses. You're hoping Oklahoma loses. Anyone that also has 2 losses that's ahead of you, you're hoping they lose. Now, in my opinion, I think you're hoping 2 spots open up because, again, the ACC, they're going to have a team in the college football playoff. Whether it's Miami or not, they're going to have at least one team based on how this whole thing is structured with conference champions and the way the whole bracket is set up right now. Whether you agree with it or not, that's how it's going to set up. I think you're probably hoping for some insurance and having a couple people lose, hoping a couple spots open up. That's just my own thought. But I want to make sure this is said out loud. If Miami gets to the college football playoff, if they find their way in, they're good enough to win a game. Dare I say they're good enough to win a game or two. According to BetMGM, there's some hypothetical lines out right now for those first-round matchups. Miami, based on how the bracket's set up right now, has a first-round matchup with Ole Miss. Miami's only a 4.5-point dog in Oxford. And you're accounting, typically, based on how they do these odds, 3.5 points allocated to the home team for home field advantage. So the BetMGM is telling you, hey, we think Ole Miss, number 6 ranked team in college football, is a 1.5 better at a neutral site than Miami. Miami, if they get in the dance, they could be a team that gets it done. And I want to go back to what we were all saying in the months of September and like late October, early October. Remember how we talked about Miami? Miami was like far and away one of the best college football teams. Miami was far and away one of the top 3 teams in the country. Miami was far and away one of the best line of scrimmage teams. Carson Beck had been reborn as a quarterback. Like there was so much we were saying about Miami in the preseason, honestly, early on in the season rather, to where if they get in, let's make sure we don't forget what we saw from them early on. Because if they get back to that mode, all bets are off. All bets are off. But again, the at-large path, maybe it's not the most favorable or advantageous, but it's real now. And every single week those rankings drop, it feels like it becomes wider and wider. So again, to recap, Miami, you are trying to get in the mind of the committee in the same comparative pool as Notre Dame. Because when that happens, you have to put Miami ahead of Notre Dame based on the head-to-head. Right now, the committee's saying, well, we don't like the losses from Miami. We actually do like the losses from Notre Dame. Same record. We're going to go ahead and put Notre Dame ahead. Different competitive pool. Okay, I'm just saying, if they get in the same pool, Miami is ahead of Notre Dame. So just keep that in mind. Miami, just so we're all on the same page, Miami might do this. Miami might do this. Probably need some help, but Miami might do this, which is very contrary to what I thought a couple days ago, even before those rankings came out. I did not think there was a chance for Miami to do that, but now the tune has obviously changed as Miami's sitting there at number 13 in the rankings. Okay, so Week 13 is going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. You can't wait for it. Oregon and USC is the game of Week 13. USC obviously going to Autzen. What's not being talked about enough, though, in this game? We already did our preview, our prediction, our breakdown, but what is maybe being under-talked about nationally over the course of this week? I'm glad you asked. What's not being said nearly enough is how good Oregon secondary is. Oregon secondary's numbers for you. Number 1 in America in terms of yards per pass allowed. Number 1 in America in terms of pass yards a game allowed. Number 2 in America when it comes to completion percentage allowed. They are different on the back end. Now, why is that important? Well, look at USC. That's USC's strength. Jayden Mayava has a special place in my heart because of his gunslinger ability and the way he pushes the football downfield. Whether interceptions don't really rattle him at all. Mekhi Lemon, I think, has a case to be the best wide receiver in college football, as does Jacoby Lane in his own right. Those two dudes are your best players for USC that you're counting on making a very large impact on this game. So what's not being said, again, Oregon, if they can take that away, it might come down to what King Miller can do for USC. It might come down to the trenches. And it's funny because like USC over the course of the last couple of years, everyone's questioning the toughness of Lincoln Riley. Hey, is USC tough enough to hang in the Big Ten? We're about to find out here because Oregon, they're good up front as well. And so USC, if you can win this game in Autzen, you can do it running the football, we got to look at USC in a different light here in the context of what they could be as a college football playoff team when they get into that dance. But Oregon, if you can take away USC's strength offensively and that's how you win the game, you're going to have I think a lot of swagger walking into some of these games in the college football playoff when it comes to maybe a rematch with Ohio State, maybe a rematch with Indiana, teams that are pretty elite at throwing the football downfield. You'll feel better about what you are in the back end because you got it verified by beating a good USC passing attack with all the things I mentioned they have there. Now, for USC, what's not being talked about nearly enough for them, defensively, man, they can rush the passer. They are top 15 in America when it comes to their sack rate. We talked about that a couple of times during the preview for this game. And I don't think the goal here, when you're watching this front seven for Danton Lynn, and you're watching Jakeem Stewart get after it and watching them fly off the edge with all the different speed they have, like I don't think it's about dominating this game up front for USC when it comes to getting after Dante Moore. I don't. I think it's about, can you be annoying against Dante Moore? Can you just rattle his cage a little bit and get him off his spot and speed him up? Because that's really what Indiana did. Now, Indiana also, to be fair, they beat Oregon by doing a both-and kind of part of this equation. They annoyed Dante Moore, and they got him on the ground to the tune of 6 sacks. But USC, we can talk about how good they are on the back end of this defense. Maybe they're not a finished product just yet regarding what Dantlin expects of that defense, but they take the football away now. So the formula of annoy Dante Moore, get him off his spot, speed up his decision-making process, turnovers happen, extra possessions for Jade Mayava. We're not talking nearly enough about the USC defense going into this game. And I understand where that's coming from because of all the things about USC we've thought previously with, again, Lincoln Riley, soft defense, not a great physical outfit is USC. If they can win this game, if they can do it on the defensive side, we got to reinvent our thought around USC in the trenches here going forward. So not being talked about nearly enough how good Oregon's secondary is, not being talked about nearly enough the potential for USC's front seven to get after Dante Moore and maybe recreate a version of what Indiana did when they went to Autzen a couple of weeks ago. Can't wait for that one. Going to be phenomenal. College game day, the works, man. We will be dialed into that one, obviously, from our Roku arena at home. But a couple of things that's not being talked about nearly enough in that game. The other game that needs to be watched closely this weekend for a number of reasons is Oklahoma hosting Missouri. Okay, now let's start with Missouri because we've talked about Oklahoma a lot over the course of the last couple of weeks, and we will continue to do so as they continue to win. But Missouri, I don't know if we realize nationally how tricky this spot truly could be for Oklahoma. Because think about it this way. If you're Oklahoma, what have you heard for the better part of the last 7 days heading into this game? Oklahoma college football playoff team just jumped Notre Dame to be the number 8 team. They just beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. They just beat Tennessee in Neyland. Like, Oklahoma's freaking warrior mode right now, man. You just got to cross the finish line of beat Missouri and LSU. 2 games your favorite, and I'm assuming here. Like, we are, hey, it's on Oklahoma. Buy the playoff tickets. Start talking about all the raises that Brent Venables and his staff should get. Like, build the statue now in Norman to Brent Venables. I'm being facetious, but you hear what I'm saying. All the juice, all the hype is behind Oklahoma. And who rolls into town? Oh, I don't know, just the best running back in college football, not named Jeremiah Love and Ahmad Hardy. Some people would argue the best running back in college football. I'm not here to have that discussion right now. 11 a.m. local kick. Okay, so a sleepy one for Oklahoma. You got to get out of the silk sheets, roll out of bed, go play a team that you're favored to beat by 2 scores. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I think it's also worth noting here, we'll see what the injury report is come game time, but there is growing optimism from the Missouri side that Bo Prabula left for dead after the Vandy game, leaves in an air cast from the Vandy game, and he might be able to play in this game. Growing optimism. We'll see. Oklahoma, I know how good you are against the run. That's not lost on me. But there were a couple of plays against Alabama where you're like, Alabama hasn't really been that great this year running the football. Daniel Hill averaged 4 yards a carry. Now, 4 yards a carry isn't anything to really write home about. It was improvement for Alabama from what I saw like at an eye test level. But what's the translation of 4 yards a carry for Bama to what Ahmad Hardy could do, to what Jamal Roberts could do? I'm just asking. I don't know. I'm just asking. All right, I'm just posing the question here. I think the spot in itself for Missouri is as treacherous as it could be walking into Norman when it comes to what Oklahoma might be a little bit eye off the ball a little bit, might be a little bit sleeping in the silk sheets a little bit. I think there's a lot about this spot that actually favors Missouri that's not being talked about nearly enough at a national level. Now, for Oklahoma, what's not being talked about enough is it's going to be hyper important for y'all to throw the football. Okay, now, here we go. I picked Oklahoma to win this game because I can already hear people in the comment section saying, here we go again. JD picking against the Sooners. I picked Oklahoma to win this game. Hear that loud and clear. But that whole thought of them winning this game is built on the idea that John Mateer in the offense got a little bit more juice throwing the football downfield. Oklahoma, over the course of the last 4 games, has thrown for over 200 yards one time. It's going to take more than 200 yards in this game to win. Hear me loud and clear. Because that front seven from Missouri, it's going to be the best front seven that I think you've played since Texas in the John Mateer injured thumb world. I think Oklahoma has the pieces to do it, which is why I picked them. But listen, Damon Wilson, Zion Young, they're going to fly off the edge with bad intentions looking for a lunch to eat, you don't want it to be John Mateers back there because you're not able to run the football. All right, so if they can have a little bit of multidimensional elements to this offense, that's going to be crucial in this game. Got to have different things that can keep Missouri at bay because, honestly, I kind of like the way this sets up for Oklahoma to push the football downfield against the zone defense of Missouri. I don't sit in zone all the time, but when they do play zone, I think there's going to be some windows for a Jaren Kanak, for a Deion Burks, a couple of possession receivers to go make something shake with Satania. So just keep an eye on that. I think there has to be something for Oklahoma in the pass game. I don't think you just John Mateer, grit your teeth, run the ball, or Xavier Robinson downhill. I think you got to have something else in the offensive bag here to be able to beat Missouri. 212 total yards as an offense will not be good enough. But here's the thing. Ben Arbuckle knows that. John Mateer knows that. Expect to see a little more in the pass game in this spot, but just so we're all on the same page, we're not talking nearly enough about what the Oklahoma offense hasn't done the last couple of weeks and what they need to do in this spot to win this game. So if you want to be at this game now, if you're an Oklahoma fan, or if you're like, man, I want to be at the next game for LSU, or I'm already looking at the playoff tickets, however you want to buy tickets or whatever game you want to be at, when you buy tickets, make sure that you buy tickets using Game Time. Why? Because we're saving you money on this show, dude. Using code HARDCOUNT. We'll get to that in a second here. But if you want to have the view from your seat before you buy in Norman, make sure you use Game Time because the Game Time app allows you to see the view from your seat before you buy. Also, it's safe, it's fast, it's effective, it's easy to buy tickets using the Game Time app. So again, hear me clearly. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code HARDCOUNT at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code HARDCOUNT, HARDCOUNT, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, man. For all of us, just don't be guessing when you're buying tickets. Are these real? Don't be that guy where you buy fake tickets and your whole family's mad at you. Don't do that. Game Time, make sure that that's not the world you're living in. So use Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Again, download the Game Time app today, Junior. Okay? Glad we got that all out of the way and established for us here. We're trying to buy some tickets here. Buying tickets maybe to a college football playoff game if you're looking at yourself as a top 4 seed in this current bracket, man. And this is actually a segment I want to do based off of one of our viewers' comments. So again, if you think we're not in the comment section reading what you have to say, you'd be very, very mistaken. Myself and Caden Smith, we are scouring's probably the wrong word to use, but we're looking very intensely at your comments to try to get good feedback, to get the segments that you want on the show, to improve the show as much as possible. It is a two-way street here on this show. Yes, we're behind the mic, but this is a show that y'all drive, all right? We're the People's College Football Show. I can't say that clearly enough. So one of you asked, hey, can we get some content around who would be the toughest draw for the top 4 teams currently in the college football playoff bracket? We say absolutely, man. So here's the prompt. The top 4 teams right now, according to the College Football Playoff Committee, are Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Georgia. The exercise we're doing today is trying to pick who would be the toughest draw for each of those teams when it comes to their first playoff game. So if you're tracking, it'd be the second round of the college football playoff, but it would be the first game for these teams. Couple parameters around this. One, we understand seeding might make some of these matchups impossible once the actual bracket comes out or how the bracket looks right now. We're not being too married to how that's going to look in the first round when it comes to seeding, okay? So we're just going off of teams that will probably play a first-round game and the potential to play one of these top 4 teams. Also, you can only use one team one time as an opponent. So, for example, we couldn't put Texas Tech as the toughest opponent for Ohio State and Indiana. We're taking one team one time, all right? So I'm going to give you my toughest draw for each team, and then Caden Smith will set the line, hypothetically speaking, for what the folks at BetMGM could say ahead of this one, as well as his thoughts on the matchup. So I'm excited for this, man. Let's start at the top. The number 1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Who could be their toughest draw? Because Ohio State, you look at that thing, it's a freaking Death Star, man. Julian Sainz dropping dimes. Defense looks impenetrable. I don't know if we've ever said that word on the show, but that's how I feel about Ohio State's defense. The weapons for Ohio State, I don't know who's matching up with them. I mulled this one over for a little bit, but I think the toughest draw for Ohio State would be the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, hear me clearly. I'm not making a pick on this game right now. I'm just saying from a matchup perspective, my midseason pick to win the national championship was Ohio State. So who should maybe be the toughest draw for them? But one Kalen DeBoer and the boys who are hunting their own national title, who got their own revenge arc they're trying to put on the rest of the college football world after missing the college football playoff a year ago. Ohio State currently seeded number 1, Alabama currently seeded number 10. So I get this matchup right now. Wouldn't it be set to happen? But here's my thing. The reason why I think Alabama presents some unique challenges for Ohio State, if you're going to beat the Buckeyes, what do you got to do? You got to have some answers offensively, right? Where does that start? JD, it starts with the weapons. Yeah, it's true. I like Ryan Williams, like Jeremy Bernard, like Cuevas, all that. That's true. It could be a pretty good matchup on the perimeter for what Ohio State's secondary maybe presents in that side of things. My angle here is I think that with how difficult Matt Patricia is making things schematically on opposing offenses, you got to go with the best processor in college football. And to me, Ty Simpson is absolutely the most above-the-shoulders elite player in the game right now. So I'm not even saying they match up all that well with Ohio State when it comes to their ability to run the football and things of that nature, but I think if I have to bet on one dude to try and understand what Matt Patricia is trying to do in real time on the field at the quarterback position, it's Ty Simpson. Also, I'll say this. This is not to single anybody out, but I just wanted to say this out loud. I'm not 110% sure that Bama couldn't find at least one matchup that they think favors them on the perimeter. And so if they can find something in the run game, which it seems like they're starting to do with Daniel Hill and what he looked like against Oklahoma, who is the top run defense in college football. He averaged 4 yards a carry. Second time we mentioned that this show. I think there's something there for Alabama to at least have a little bit of juice on the offensive side of the football. Now, defensively, I don't think you just ultimately slow down Ohio State. We already mentioned this. Jeremiah Smith, I think, is the best player in college football. I think he should win the Heisman Trophy if Julian Sain doesn't win it. That's beside the point. I think that the multiple other weapons with Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis and Max Clare, but I look at the secondary for Alabama and how they match up. Maybe you don't totally slow down Ohio State completely, but I think you could maybe minimize some of the damage. Alabama, top 15 pass defense in the country. Take the numbers away. The overall length of Alabama on the back end, I think, matches up relatively well. There is not a cornerback on Alabama's roster that plays meaningful minutes that's listed under 6 foot. Dijon Lee, true freshman, he's 6'4". I don't know if you have him shadow Jeremiah Smith the whole game because I don't like a true freshman playing against Jeremiah Smith just straight up. But honestly, in terms of size and challenges that could present, maybe there's a world now where Alabama just battles a little bit. That's all I'm asking for, man. But can you just battle a little bit with Ohio State? Now, the problem here, as good as Ty Simpson is for Alabama, Julian Sain has been just as good and been just as dialed. You say, well, JD, they haven't played nearly level competition. Okay, I hear you. It's fine. But Julian Sain has passed every test here, especially from the month of October onward with flying colors, completing 80% of his passes. I can't explain how stupid that is of a stat. That is ridiculous to be able to do that. So I think unintentionally now, the key for Ohio State in this spot, the reason why I think I'd ultimately, if I had to make a pick today, I'd lean pretty heavily towards Ohio State. I think Ohio State has intentionally held some of their cards close to the vest with what they haven't done running the football just yet, because that's kind of the major gripe if you're grasping at straws against Ohio State. Well, what are they really on the ground? They're not Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson level good when it comes to running the football. That's true. It's definitely true. But I see real juice with Bo Jackson, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Ohio State has thrown the football more this year than they have run the football. I think they're saying we're going to keep that offensive line fresh. We're going to keep that running back room fresh. So when it comes time for cold weather games against the Michigans of the world and potentially here a draw against Alabama in the college football playoff, I think Ohio State would be more than fine saying royal flush, throw all our cards down. Bo Jackson downhill, C.J. Donaldson downhill, James Peoples getting in the mix. Like, I think Ohio State actually has more juice than they are letting on in that running back room, and I think they would exercise it against the Bama defense that has had their own issues against the run in itself. So again, not making a pick, I would lean Ohio State here, but Cato, that's kind of my breakdown on the hypothetical game here. What is the hypothetical line that you would set here for a neutral site Ohio State-Alabama matchup in the first round of the college football playoff for Ohio State, but the second round of the bracket?
Yeah, JD, I actually took the liberty of looking at what the semifinal bowl matchups will be. I'm going to give some designations here.
Let's go, dude. I love it.
So this game, we're going to take this to the Orange Bowl. last time these two teams faced off, national championship in that same stadium.
Oh, gosh.
Bring them both back. Hopefully Ohio State would have some better luck than when they got blown out in that COVID year. Mac Jones slice and dice him, and Devontae Smith had the best first half of football we've ever seen a wide receiver have. So this will be in the Orange Bowl. These two, I mean, you talk about the logo matchup. Like, this would just be awesome. And Alabama fans, do not come after me. This says a lot more about Ohio State than Alabama as far as this line goes. I think it's Ohio State by a touchdown. I think Ohio State.
That's not crazy at all.
I think Ohio State 7.5 is the line that you'd get here, and I think I don't think anyone would be favored by less than a touchdown against, or less than a touchdown underdog to Ohio State up until this point. Now, obviously, in these games there would be games before, so maybe if Alabama in their game before this runs the ball for 200 yards. There's less on Ty Simpson's plate. The defense looks better. Then all of a sudden, I think we can maybe see a line change, and I think that'd be possible for all of these matchups. But as it stands right now, we saw what that Oklahoma defense was able to do as far as wreaking havoc on that Alabama offense, and I feel like a lot of that was predicated on so much being on Ty Simpson's shoulders and not having that complementary run game to go along with it. What's Matt Patricia going to do? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that, the personnel of Ohio State defensively, to me, the hardest draw for Ohio State pretty much would always come down to either who has the next best defense in the pool that can keep the game low scoring. We can see maybe a Texas-Ohio State kind of situation that we saw to start the season where it's a low scoring game and you give your offense just a couple chances to get past that Ohio State defense, or who brings the most to the table offensively as far as balance, making Ohio State worry about the run game just as much as worrying about the pass game. And I think really the only other teams kind of at the top of that four are the teams that could really give Ohio State a run possibly in that department, in my opinion. But you mentioned the coaching battle, man. Matt Patricia going head-to-head with Ryan Grubb. Kalen DeBoer's brains obviously very much has to do with the scheme as well. Sure. I think that'd be an awesome schematic battle. People were saying that they can't wait to hopefully see Grubb versus Venables several times in the future in the SEC. This matchup, too, would just be two great chess players, if you will, as far as what they do at the coordinator level. And I wouldn't put Ryan Grubb, who has had postseason experience at Washington and knows how to get a good game plan together, I wouldn't put it past him having a couple things and wrinkles to give Matt Patricia some problems, but I still think it's a 7.5 spread for me favoring the Buckeyes.
I actually 100% agree with that number.
Nice.
I 100% agree with that number. I think what you said is a good point of, well, if Alabama looks like a freaking wagon in the first round, maybe we change that number. But as it stands right now, a little Orange Bowl matchup between Ohio State and Bama round 2, all the way here for that, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State keeps doing what they're doing, and then Alabama takes their loss to Oklahoma. So the line is very in the moment. We'll see. Hopefully we see a matchup like this and we can get some real lines in the moment. But, yeah, this is just a prisoner of the moment kind of line, just given what we've seen recently from an Alabama and what we've seen all season long from Ohio State.
Okay, before we move on to this next matchup, which I do want to make sure we do, can I say something that's going to get me just either banned or worst case killed in Columbus? I think Matt Patricia is a phenomenal defensive coordinator. I have backed off the take he was a bad hire. I backed off that take. I was wrong.
But
however, when he got hired, my comeback to earth thought it was like, why this doesn't make sense. I don't understand this. I guess Matt Patricia and Ryan Day they know more about football than I could ever forget. So there's that part of it. Or they have forgotten more about football than I can ever know, whatever the expression is there. Here's what I'm going to say. He's still, to me, the question when they hired him was, is he the 10% difference maker for you in games like this that allow you to repeat as national champions? That's the take that I stand a little bit more firmly behind, and we'll get our answer in this spot.
That's fair.
I don't know if we've seen that yet from Matt Patricia. His defense has been the best in college football, so that's not me knocking them. But just saying. Just saying.
That's fair. You did. That was your take. You did. I will defend you in the fact that you were critical of if he can get this defense to the championship level, just given his unfamiliarity with the college game and in the biggest moments, that 10%. As of right now, though, man, I mean,
it's not aging well.
I'm giving him the Broyles Award. If I'm giving out the Broyles Award, it's going to the guy who made a defense that lost, 8 guys to the league?
8 starters.
A defense that people was impenetrable last year and could never close your eyes this offseason and picture that unit getting better. He made them better.
Yep.
So to me, that's Burrow's award level. But we'll see if we can get him on that championship level, man. It's different in the postseason. The game planning a little bit different. You have more time to break down that film. So we'll see. But as of right now, man, I mean, Arvell Reese and Matt Patricia.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're doing dangerous things when it comes to offensive game planners. You got to pray for them every week.
Absolutely ridiculous. I will close with this before we move on. I have a vote on the Broyles Award. Ooh. Matt Patricia will be getting a vote from me on the Broyles Award. So in case that's like an olive branch to the folks in Columbus, if they're still watching this show, God bless you. That is maybe the olive branch that hopefully will keep cooler heads in tune. But Kato, what do you say we move on to our number 2 ranked team in the current college football playoff bracket?
Let's get it.
Indiana Hoosiers. Now, I understand the loser of the Big Ten title game may not be ranked number 2. Who's to say it's Indiana? Who's to say Indiana's not number 1 in the college football playoff rankings when they all come out? But as it stands right now, I think the toughest first game draw for Indiana, should they find themselves in the spot in the college football playoff, I think you don't want to play a team you've already played once. And I think that's the Oregon Ducks. Now, as it stands right now, according to BetMGM, the line for Oregon hosting Alabama in Autzen is at a pick'em, meaning like you don't get any juice either way, no points either way. It's just pick who you think is better, and we're going to go ahead and ride with that. There's no actual like point differential according to BetMGM in Bama at Oregon. Now, you're saying, JD, how is this the toughest draw for Indiana? Like they just beat that team that you're telling me is the toughest draw at their place. Oh, by the way, by 10 points. And most people that watched that game say it feels like it could have been more than 10 points over the course of that thing. They harassed Dante Moore. They sacked him 6 times. They held Oregon to less than 100 yards rushing, turned Dante Moore over twice. I hear all that, but here's my thought process. Just what I said. It is very difficult. It's cliche because it's true. Very difficult to beat anyone in the world of college football twice. I think it's also much more difficult to beat a head coach in Dan Lanning twice. The only coach that comes to mind for me that's done that is one Kalen DeBoer. He did it twice in one season at Washington. Is Dante Moore really going to throw 2 picks again against Indiana? Again, the game came down to 10 points. Is Dante Moore really going to throw 2 picks again? He's thrown 5 all year. And I think he's progressed since the Indiana game. That's one part of this. The other part of this is, do we really think in a revenge spot in another year under Dan Lanning, with this Oregon team, the way they're operating, do we really think that Indiana is as dominant on the ground against Oregon in the way they were? Because Oregon, they're actually a good running the football defense. It's a funny way to say it. Oregon's good against the run. They're a top 25 unit against the run. I don't know that I see Indiana having that same level of success, especially when there's that element of surprise not existing quite as much for Cignetti and the boys. Not saying that Oregon didn't know what was coming, but I feel a little bit like if you get a team that you already lost to once, you get a second chance at them, you play with a little bit extra edge, a little bit extra urgency. You would like to think if there's any way to get some extra physicality out of that front seven for Oregon, you would bring it in this spot. There's also a world now where Indiana just has too much juice offensively, and that's the end of it. Like Fernando Mendoza going to be a top 10 pick. Indiana has 6 guys right now averaging over 10 yards a catch. I talk about how good Oregon's secondary is. Maybe it's the juice for Indiana that makes the difference. But I will say this. I would be shocked if we saw Indiana beat Oregon with the same kind of game plan. Like, I don't think it's we're going to run the football downhill at you and we're going to just have Surratt work on the outside. I think Dan Lanning, being the defensive guy that he is, will have some different answers for that. I think Will Stein, being the wizard that he is as an OC, will have some different answers for Dante Moore. I think having to beat Oregon twice would present a world of challenges for Indiana. So, Cato, again, not played in Autzen, so you don't have that going for you if you're the Ducks and you lost that round one in Autzen. But where's this game being played? What's the hypothetical line you're putting on this one?
Well, JD, this is also, I agree, would be the toughest matchup for Indiana, having to beat a team twice. So I firmly agree with you there. And not only is Oregon going to have to revisit the previous loss they had to Indiana this year, but they're also going to have to revisit the postseason demons from last year. And they're going to the Rose Bowl to play Indiana. I had to do it. I'm sorry.
I'm so glad you did.
They're going to have cool Rose Bowl helmets again, I'm sure. We'll see if their quarterback is into the natural grass and the environment of the Rose Bowl as well. But no, Kurt Cignetti, man, that painted sky, it'll be beautiful. But no, I think this line, you mentioned it's hard to beat a team twice. I think the problem with Oregon is that maybe they will this weekend, haven't showed that they will play, their offense at least especially, play at the same level against ranked teams as non-ranked teams. Yeah. I think because it is so hard to beat a team twice, though, Indiana -2.5 feels like a safe pick there. Indiana, I think, would be barely favored in this game. I think it'll be a close one. I think Vegas would anticipate a close one with it being a rematch. And yeah, you just talk about talent. I think Indiana proved in the first game they're just as talented as Oregon right now. Now, I think Oregon has more talent that's young. So when you take both of these teams individually and we go into the future a couple of years, maybe Oregon will have more eventual NFL players there. But right now, man, Indiana has the experience to go along with what they have going. And yeah, man, I think Indiana would just be barely favored in this, just because it is so hard to beat a team twice. I feel like most of the time for rematches, Vegas usually keeps it pretty close if the talent's pretty close. And yeah, man, I think out of all these lines, this would be the closest one I think we'll get to, just because the rematch of it all. Even if Oregon learns from their mistakes last time, Indiana has the personnel and the players and the coaches to even those odds again. So it would be chess. It'd be physical, and I think it'd be a slight edge to Indiana. I don't think it'd be anything too crazy.
I think it's a great line, honestly. When this game was played in Autzen, I believe the line was somewhere around Oregon -8.5 at game time, but you're factoring in 3.5 for home field advantage. And now if you're going to reset that line at a neutral site, when that team beat the other team by 10 points, it's like, yeah, I don't know how you favored Oregon a second time in that game. It should also be said, I keep saying, well, is Dante Moore going to have the same game he had? Well, is Oregon not going to be able to stop the run that same way? Are they going to have more success on the ground? Fernando Mendoza didn't have the best day at the office in this game. Threw for less than 200 yards, had a pick six that made this thing super interesting in the second half when Oregon tied it up. Now, Elijah Surratt went just beast mode and had over 100 yards receiving and a big touchdown. But, like, I think it's also interesting to think, hey, could Fernando Mendoza come back to the table with a little bit more juice in that bat? And maybe he's better for a second rep at a Tosh Lapoy defense against Oregon. Yeah, I also think, I mean, you look at Indiana as well. You talked about Mendoza. He's had some very impressive games, like the one he had last year last game where the ball touched the ground like 3 times and he had 4 touchdowns. Against Penn State, though, against Oregon, he had strong finishes to those games. And that's why Indiana won, and those games were close. Yeah. And I think that if this game was played in Indiana, I think maybe the line gets bumped up to like a 4.5. But I think if it's in Autzen, I still think Indiana is a road favorite slightly, just like they would be in the Rose Bowl. I think it'd be a slight road favorite there too. So I think that was kind of my process too when you presented these matchups. I thought about, okay, if this team was home, what would they be? If they were away, would they be? And then we'll put them on a neutral. So landed at -2.5 for Indiana. Feels pretty safe. And yeah, man, could you just imagine the cinema of Dan Lanning and those Ducks returning to the Rose Bowl? A familiar place that they don't have fond memories of, and then you're playing a team also that you didn't have very fond memories of this season. The rematches, people I feel like have mixed feelings about them. I'm all about it in college football, man. We need more rivalries with the conference realignment, and this would be a fun one that we just see regularly. Oregon just finding new rivals in this Big Ten. Ohio State, a little rivalry. Indiana, a little rivalry. I would love to see a rematch here before, and it's pretty high up on the list, honestly, of the playoff teams with rematch potential. It'd be so fun, dude. It'd be so fun. I can already see, too, if Oregon were to win the game, the recap from the creative team, they flash back to the Rose Bowl the year before. Jeremiah Smith scores again. Then Dan Lanning delivering just a sonnet before the game where they go beat Indiana. I don't know. I would pick Oregon in this game, Kate.
Flip the script.
We're not doing picks, but I mean, I would pick Oregon in this game. You have a lean here? I know you have Indiana as the favorite. Would you take Indiana in this spot?
I think it hinges too much on the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
If Indiana just continues to, like, they've only looked human in moments, but like with the box score, they haven't looked human yet. So like if they lose to Ohio State, okay, like I can see Oregon pulling it out. But if they beat Ohio State, it's like, all right, like this line might change, like everything might change. So these are all subject to obviously the next couple weeks we have. But man, hey, the Rose Bowl is my favorite too. So Hoosiers and Ducks fans, this is as high as of a praise as I can give. This is the granddaddy of all, man. This game sells itself, and I think the national championship should be in the Rose Bowl every year. I'm standing on that one.
Dude, we could fill a whole show on that.
Me and Clyde.
100% with you, bro. Yeah, we'll get him in here. We'll talk about the Rose Bowl, how awesome. Yeah, I mean, we could.
Still haven't been.
Go on that.
Still haven't been. We have to make it one of these days.
We got to, man. When the show gets on the road. When the show hint, wink, wink. When the show gets on the road, we'll have to make that happen.
Most definitely.
But yeah, again, Indiana fans, if you do win the Big Ten, you're probably the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So just have that out there for the folks that are watching in Bloomington. Cato, on to the current 3 seed in the college football playoff. Should they win the SEC, likely rated or likely seeded higher than 3rd. Texas A&M, who could their toughest draw be? Now, for those of y'all keeping track at home, off the board of opponents that we can no longer use in this discussion, can't use Oregon, okay? They're going to play Indiana. And we can't use the team that played Ohio State, which was, remind me, Cato, who we had playing Ohio State? Alabama. So you can't have Alabama and you can't have Oregon for your toughest opponent for playing A&M. So according to BetMGM, there's a couple of those first-round lines already out for some of those matchups, okay? And the Oklahoma Sooners, right now they're hosting a college football playoff game, according to this bracket, against Notre Dame, and they're a 4.5-point dog at home. Y'all, funny enough, I think Oklahoma presents the toughest draw to what A&M could play in their first college football playoff game, being round 2, but being the first game for A&M. This, to me, is so heavily predicated on the reality that Brent Venables is a freaking psychopath when it comes to calling the defense. He is the Pennywise of defensive minds in college football, okay? And I'm looking at what A&M has been offensively this year. It's been phenomenal. I've talked about it so many times. The fireworks, the Marcel Reed dynamic aspect, the playmakers, the putting it on the perimeter and letting Casey Concepcion take a 5-yard pass 50. Like, just all the excitement around A&M's offense is real, and it's there. But here's why I think Oklahoma presents the best challenge to A&M when it comes to teams A&M could draw in the college football playoff. This is all about the idea that Oklahoma could keep Marcel Reed from setting his feet more often than not. Like, Oklahoma has been one of the best teams in college football getting after the quarterback. You'd like to think at this point in the season, R. Mason Thomas is healthy and full go. On the other side of things is Taylor Wine. We saw what South Carolina did in the first half to A&M. We saw what Dylan Stewart did. Now, I'm not saying that Oklahoma has Dylan Stewart coming off the edge. They got a lot of dudes that can do a very similar thing when it comes to rushing Marcel Reed, creating turnovers. If you can get him uncomfortable, okay, now things get really, really interesting. Things get really, really tricky. Oklahoma, also, they've been able to take away the run game for a lot of teams this year. Number 1 in college football when it comes to their rush defense, or at least number 1 in the SEC, top 3 in college football when it comes to their rush defense. A&M and what they do offensively, they threw their way back into the game against South Carolina in the second half, because that was all they were really going to be allowed to do, being down 27. But as an offense, they want to run the football. They want to set up the RPO stuff. They want to get Ruben Owens rolling. They want to get defenses rocking and rolling a little bit and overcommitting, and then you got gash plays behind that. Oklahoma being able to take away the run game and then trusting their dudes to play on islands at a high level that they have to this point in the season, I think that the Oklahoma personality, with what they've done the last couple of weeks, just trading their way to wins that maybe they shouldn't have on paper, finding ways to turn teams over, just willing their way to wins in Neyland, winning their way to a win in Tuscaloosa. There's a certain house money vibe to Oklahoma right now that would scare me if I were A&M putting together this dream season, this perfect season at this point in time. Should you win the SEC, it's even more of a dream season, and you got to roll out there for your first college football playoff game at a neutral site and see a bunch of just junkyard dogs on the defensive side in Oklahoma, and then a quarterback in Oklahoma who you hope is more healthy if you're in Norman, who just quite frankly seems to not care about whatever the circumstances are. I think that if Oklahoma's going to find a way to win this game, goes without saying, you need more from John Mateer. You need more from that passing game in general. But I'll tell you what, man, if you get September Mateer in this game, it's going to be an awesome watch. 2, it's going to be really exciting in the fourth quarter. And 3, Oklahoma might find a way to win. Now, I say all that, I want to bring it back to this idea. The danger in this game for Oklahoma, should it happen, is the potential of the Oklahoma offense. Looks how it's looked the last couple of weeks. Can't really get out of neutral, relying on Tate Sandell to swing that left leg, not right, like his left leg through the uprights. And the A&M offense at any given time catches your cadence defensively. And when I say that, I think back to an MMA fight I watched a long time ago in my one-bedroom apartment in Waco, Texas. I'm watching Dustin Poirier fight Conor McGregor. And McGregor's throwing jabs, and then somewhere in like the first or second round, McGregor's landing him, right? Poirier's beat up, he's bloodied, but at one point I saw Dustin Poirier like almost have this light bulb moment. He looks at McGregor and kind of like wags his finger like, I got you. Like, I see I see your cadence of your punches. Next round comes out, drops McGregor, game blouses. That could be in play here if A&M at any point in time, maybe Oklahoma's throwing haymakers, they're connecting, Oklahoma's got their number defensively. Then all of a sudden, Marcel Reed says, oh, I see what you're doing now. Oh, I see your cadence, Brent Venables. I see where you're bringing pressure. I got you figured out. Light bulb moment. We're back on. We're scoring points. When A&M's in their flow state, nobody's beating A&M. Hear me very clearly. So for the sheer fact of what that front seven could bring and what Oklahoma as an offense could bring with John Mateer, I think this would be the toughest draw for A&M with the potential of getting Marcel Reed off his spot. Cato, where are we going for this one? And what's the hypothetical line you're setting here for Sooners Aggies, assuming we see this game in the second round of the playoff in the first game for A&M?
Cinematic matchup. Great job again.
Thank you.
There's only one place we can play this out of the options we have here for the semifinal games, and that's in Arlington, baby. We're going to the Cotton Bowl. Home game for both teams. Oklahoma fans show up. A&M fans show up. This would be the best, I think, fan turnout of all of the options. Geographically, it's awesome. This would be sick. And I've been between two lines this whole time, and I hate lines that don't end in a half because it's just – I'm not betting those. There's just no value there. Like, I'm not just going to bet on one number for a line on the over-under. But I'm putting it right at 4, man. I was between 3.5 and 4.5. I'm putting it right at 4. I had 4.5 written down, and then you started making the Venables case about that defense, and I was like, I wrote 3 down. Then you talked about Marcel Reed and them boys. I'm like, I think 4 is right where it should be, though. It's that kind of game. I think the coolest part about this is the DNA matchup, like you've mentioned. I mean, how many teams in the country from a culture and DNA standpoint are able to come back the way that A&M was able to come back against South Carolina? Very few. How many teams in the country can have that lack of offensive production that Oklahoma had against Alabama, but still find a way to win on special teams turnovers and wreaking havoc and field goal kicking being very timely and clutch? Only Oklahoma, man. So I would love this matchup so much from a coach culture, who these teams see when they look in the mirror kind of feel. These teams both think they're bad dudes, and they are. And when the chips are at the highest, that's when you feel the best about them. So I love that for it. I think the equalizer is that Oklahoma defense, because you look at the first half of the A&M game, and South Carolina looked like Oklahoma looked against Alabama at times. In the backfield, fumbled, tip balls, quarterback's feet a little jittery because there's some pressure there. DB's doing a great job of making small windows. Like, they would be able to replicate that, I think, in a lot of ways against this A&M team. Problem is this A&M team has tons of answers on the offensive side of the ball, like we saw in the second half. You know, they have a stable of running backs. Maybe at this point, RB1 is back for A&M and Le'Veon Moss is fully healthy. That would shift this line a little bit, you know. Big thing for this is, though, if Oklahoma's offense can round into form next couple weeks, say in the round before they're all of a sudden, like you mentioned, September Mateer starts to show up, I think that's where the line moves. But even Oklahoma as is right now, I think this is the line. And I think, to be honest, Oklahoma can only make this line closer with better play throughout the next couple weeks if this game were hypothetically going to happen. If Oklahoma continues to catch their stride and has a sense of urgency to get better on offense, to run the ball better, Mateer's feeling better, I think this team gets only more and more dangerous, and this line gets only and only closer, not just for Oklahoma but for A&M, but for anyone that would have to potentially face Oklahoma in the postseason. And let's not look at A&M's schedule and see – you don't see a bunch of Oklahoma kind of teams on there. There's not Tennessee's, there's not a lot of Alabama's, not Georgia's. So, like, this would be a other than the SEC championship, hypothetically, for A&M, this would be one of the better teams Oklahoma has played the entire year. It'd pretty much be the SEC championship, the Notre Dame game, and this one, as far as them getting under the heavy bar. Oklahoma's lived under the heavy bar the last couple of weeks. So really good matchup. I'd be really excited about this. I think this would be the one I'm most excited about, if we're being honest, just from a quarterback play culture, just matchup. This one would really fire me up.
Dude, you gave me the visual of this game in Jerry World. Woo! And I just think about whoever's on the call. Let's say it's Chris Fowler, and they open up, and it's Jerry World, and it's people don't really love neutral sites. I could take or leave them. I prefer them be on campus, but if you get a game in Jerry, it feels big. Having been to multiple Big 12 title games there as a fan, it feels big. These two teams, those two logos, dude, it would be awesome. It'd be so awesome. Le'Veon Moss coming back, too, if that's a thing that happens in this game, that would obviously be something to keep account for. Cato, Oklahoma even being in this game, having won a college football playoff game. What does that say about where this line would be? I think you nailed it. I think it's another great line. Right at 4. Gosh, I don't know what I would do. It'd be a stay away for all the reasons we already talked about.
Yeah.
There's so much variance, but dude, I would love this game.
Yeah, if either of these quarterbacks orchestrated a game-winning drive against what you bet, you'd be like, "Yep, well, like that's John Mateer, that's Marcel Reed. Like we've seen them do it. Like it wouldn't feel good either way. I think, regardless of where your money was. Call me crazy, JD. I like the neutral sites. I know Joe Klatt.
No, I'm with you.
He's on the front line of playing these games in college stadiums, and I get it. But also, like, the more important the games get, let's just go good on good neutral site and see who has a better team. Who doesn't need the weather? Who doesn't need third down super loud? Like, I've played in conference championships in the Sun Belt where I was the home team and the away team, and I'm like, well, it'd be nice if this was a neutral. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we can really. I think the purest form of a postseason for college football is a neutral site. But I also, again, like I see the allure. Like, would it be super sick to have the Aggie Yell squad the night before doing their thing, and then Texas A&M runs out to power? Like, yeah, that'd be sick too. But yeah, man, good on good neutral site for me. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like for the players, locker rooms are the same, vibes are the same. Who has their best when all of the pageantry of the game's kind of stripped away? I think that kind of tells who's the best out as well.
I think both things can be true. Before, I don't want to take us off script.
Yeah,
too far,
this could be a pod for
I
hours.
love it though. I love it. I think what you're saying is absolutely on the money. I think two things can be true. I think home field in college football can be the greatest thing there is, in my opinion, in sports.
Yeah.
At the same time, dude, there is something to a conference title game or a later round college football playoff game that feels big. Just feels big. And I understand there's a commercial element to it that feels kind of corporate, but like, again, Jerry World, I've come to view that as like a college football big game stadium. I know the Cowboys play there. I think about big college football games happening in that stadium.
Yeah, and I get, like, as this sport gets more popular, would be very cool to introduce some people who are a little bit more casual to the sport to the traditions if they're only checking in for the postseason. So I get that. And the first round is going to provide a lot of that. But I see both sides of it. For me, though, I lean a little bit neutral, man. I like both of these. I like teams in the playoffs. Hey, like, take the home crowds out of it. Let's see how well you travel. See what you got. So, yeah, we'll see in the future if that changes at all. I kind of like the bowl rotational system right now, but if it was up to me, Rose Bowl every year for the championship. 12-team playoff era. Instead of winning championships, you win Rose Bowl. It's kind of like winning a Super Bowl, you know? It's a different. We will differentiate the Rose Bowl 12-team and plus era playoff and the ones before. I digress. We could talk about this all day.
No, I love it, though. That'd be glorious. We'll file that one to the back of the content library for you and I with neutral site, road games, or home games, rather. Road games for some teams. I love it. That's a great line, though. Texas A&M -4 against the Sooners now. All right, last one. And, Cato, I think the matchup we just talked about might be my favorite, but I think this matchup in itself is potentially the most watchable, potentially the most exciting. Who would Georgia have the toughest time against relative to the teams that are off the board here, or still on the board rather, in this exercise? So to recap it, we cannot pick Oklahoma as the toughest draw for Georgia. Already picked them with what they would have against A&M. We cannot pick Oregon because they're going to play Indiana. And we cannot pick Alabama, even though that would be a tough draw for Georgia based on what happened this year, because they're playing Ohio State. So the team that I think is interesting and would potentially be the toughest for Georgia in the context of this discussion, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. All right, now as it stands right now, Texas Tech is slated to have a home college football playoff game against Tulane. Texas Tech currently the 5 seed, Tulane currently the 12 seed. Texas Tech, according to BetMGM, that line will be set at 19.5. Favoring the Red Raiders, and y'all, I take Texas Tech and feel great about doing it when it comes to that line. No disrespect to the Green Wave, even though John Summerall has come out and said, I don't think we're a top 25 team. Neither here nor there. The reason why I think this is worth unpacking, why it'd be a good test for Georgia, a tough draw for Georgia, there's an epic personality clash going on here between what these two teams like to do. Texas Tech has the best front seven in college football by the numbers. Georgia is a 57% of the time run the football team. They are a walking 200-yard game as a team, is Georgia. Nate Frazier and that run game going for 300 collectively against Mississippi State. So the thing kind of weighing here in this matchup, if I'm Georgia, your go-to punch is running the football, and you're up against a defense and Jacob Rodriguez, David Bailey off the edge, that I think could take away that go-to punch. So if you're Georgia, you say, great, we got Gunnar Stockton. I got no problem with that. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I am saying with the way that you've been able to set up the passing game with the run game this over the course of this year, I don't think that same formula is quite as on the table as it has been against some of these other teams. Now, Texas Tech, on the offensive side, yeah, they definitely have less star power than what Georgia has as a roster. But if Baron Morton can be healthy enough in this spot, I'm telling you, I'm not getting limping around Baron Morton where he stays in the game and he's just freaking walk his Texas Ranger finding a way through this thing. If I get healthy enough, Baron Morton, Texas Tech is top 25 in college football in yards per pass. Georgia as a secondary has been much better as of late. They are not great over the course of this season, though. I still have visions in my mind's eye of Joey Aguilar slicing and dicing in that first quarter. Trinidad Chambliss, fresh off of his D2 career, walking into Athens and getting buckets through the. There is a world now where Texas Tech puts the pressure on Georgia with minimal run game, with what that Texas Tech front seven is bringing to the table, and they force them to go score for score with them. Now, if you're Georgia, you say, cool, we've seen that movie before. We got to go score for score. The answer to that, his name is Gunnar Stockton. All right, and Gunnar Stockton, just to be clear, I think it would take something from him to get it done in this game. I don't think this is the Gunnar Stockton dressed-down polo game. You got to have the dressed-up polo game here. Now, as we break down this matchup, the answer to me, in addition to Gunnar Stockton for this game for Georgia, is just the size out wide for the pass catchers of Georgia. Noah Thomas, Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky. There's a lot there on the offense for Georgia that I think is just straight up different than what Texas Tech has seen to this point. So Georgia, I think it would take a little bit extra on the offensive side, but I think that Texas Tech would score. I really do. I think they'd score. I think they'd have a good chance to stop the run. But I think we'd have a little shootout action here. So Gunnar Stockton knows no stranger to shootouts. Georgia's no stranger to winning shootouts, but this game in itself will be a tremendous test of Georgia's physicality. It'd be a tremendous litmus test for Texas Tech in terms of what they've built with that roster through the portal. The more or less the standard of the 2020s in college football, with Kirby having 2 national titles to his name versus the new kids on the block in Texas Tech and the Fighting Joey Maguires. I'd be all the way here for this game. I think it'd be phenomenal. I think it would have a ton of juice behind it. Cato, new school versus not old school, but maybe more recent school in what Georgia has been. What are you setting this line at, and where are we playing this game?
Yeah, there's only one semifinal or quarterfinal bowl game matchup left, and we're back to the theme of revisiting past demons. Georgia, remember what happened last year in the Sugar Bowl? Yeah, Marcus Freeman gave you a little L. So you're going back to the Sugar Bowl, playing Texas Tech this time. Great geographically. I think right between Georgia and Texas can meet in the middle. Perfect. Some oil money on Bourbon Street, some dogs barking on Bourbon Street. Think it'd be a great matchup.
Good for the economy.
Yeah, I think Georgia at this point, JD, the November Georgia's been activated. The Georgia that was playing those close games seems far, far away. And because of that, I think I gave Georgia a generous -6.5 line.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to hit me with a 10.5 or 13. I was like, shoot, Cato's
this is my line. I'm not. I could see the books trying to pull a fast one. No shade to BetMGM, but people who are a little bit more casual with the betting see Big 12 logo, SEC logo. You can maybe get away with a 10.5 line, a 9.5 line. But at the end of the day, like Georgia, like Texas Tech has the defense, man. Like their defense is elite. Yeah. Front seven is elite. It would be a big test for them going against that Georgia run game, but I think they could meet the moment. I think the quarterback injury thing with Baron Morton, where is he at this point of this season, is a huge question. And I have a question for you, JD. I think for this one, how much did you consider Notre Dame potentially being the hardest draw for Georgia? Because for me, when I look at the field of teams left, that's the team I would put here is Notre Dame, just because they're so proficient at running the ball. We saw Georgia just hold Texas to like 20 rush yards. I think they would have an exact answer to that. Last postseason, they showed the traits that they can go toe-to-toe with a team like Georgia and win. Curious where you think Notre Dame would be as far as a draw for Georgia compared to a Texas Tech. And not to mention, Notre Dame's quarterback doesn't have a fracture in his leg.
Very fair. It's a very fair point, one. Two, relatively close to putting Notre Dame here. One, they won the game a year ago, so it's like, yeah, it would make sense to put him in there. My thing here, Cato, is I think CJ Carr is really good. I think he is great at operating the offense. I wonder a little bit about what he would be able to do in a game like this with the weapons Notre Dame has on the outside. I just think Texas Tech has a little bit more take-you-deep kind of juice. Like, I think Malachi Fields is great. I think Faison is great. I think Jeremiah Love obviously is, in his own right, a tremendous weapon in the pass game for them as well as the running game. So there's a lot there, but I think the challenges I think Texas Tech would present schematically and the way that they spread the field so much, I think is something we've seen Georgia struggle with against Tennessee and Ole Miss. So Notre Dame could absolutely be in that mix, but that front seven of Texas Tech to me is just the cherry on top. Now, Notre Dame's great in the front seven as well, don't get me wrong, but I think that front seven of Texas Tech, some of this is selfish. I couldn't help but imagine the idea of Tech versus Georgia, the Big 12 front seven of Texas Tech against that offensive line of Georgia. I just want to see that matchup. And I also was thinking, okay, Georgia's go-to is the running game. Who has the best front seven to try and minimize that?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my thought process there.
I definitely get it from a front seven standpoint too. I think Georgia's offense is just getting more and more dynamic by the day. So there's not really many units like in the country that you feel comfortable slowing down Gunnar Stockton with his legs and the weapons and the running backs, the tight ends. Like, there's just so much motion there that it's not a great matchup for most defenses, if we're just being honest. Follow-up question here too. In this hypothetical, Texas Tech would be playing Tulane before this game. Would you almost feel better if they played a better opponent and can get a little bit under the heavy bar and get a better rep? There is a universe where they blow out Tulane, and then now you have to play a Kirby Smart Georgia team, and this is coming off of your Big 12 schedule, probably a Big 12 title game that I'm sure had some talented players, obviously, but this is a different animal. I'd almost feel better if Texas Tech played a little bit of a better opponent, overcame them, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, like now you have a little bit more confidence going up against a Georgia as well compared to beating the G5 rep here. I think a 6 seed wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for a Texas Tech.
You know what flashed across my mind when you asked that question was Joey McGuire post-game this past weekend talking about Jacob Rodriguez getting in the game and scoring a touchdown. And he says to whoever's doing the interview on the field with him post-game, like, hey, we had to score one more time to get number 2 out of the game. Talking about Baron Morton, we wanted him to get some rest and get him as healthy as possible. We wanted him out of the game. So Jacob Rodriguez, we got to score here, brother. This is the conversation they're having. And so if that's the way that Joey McGuire is thinking now in the month of November, we get to the month of December, we definitely want to get Baron Morton off his feet a little bit before we play Georgia. So I would say yes in any other case, except for the one where we're trying to keep Baron Morton's leg in one piece, which I think is where Texas Tech is at right now, unfortunately.
That's a sharp connection you made, JD. And if we do get to the point where Texas Tech is the 5 seed and they are hosting a Tulane, a JMU fill in the G5 team, I'll be looking at that first half spread. Yeah, because now we know the prerogative is to get Baron Morton out there as fast as possible. Maybe they try to run up the score early in Lubbock, send everyone home pretty quickly. So yeah, I think that's a heady call right there. And yeah, we'll have to keep monitoring that for sure, matchup to matchup, what these coaches are really trying to get out of these games. And I think if they're in a position to put a team away early, like a G5, they'll do it right now. They're trying to get the calcium up for one Baron Moore, make sure that leg heals up and is least fractured as possible going into the playoff.
Just a whole milk IV to the freaking veins for Baron Morton.
Got to do it.
What they said in the broadcast for the BYU game, like they gave him a plate from NASA or something. Like
it was
some astrophysicists.
Yeah, they had a team of scientists funded by oil money just putting together the best possible brace or apparatus to keep that leg intact. So we'll see, man. The quarterback depth, man, that scares me about Texas Tech. Hopefully, if their defense can play well enough to win them games with a quarterback doing that, man, I mean, that'd be impressive to say the least.
Exciting times, man. Exciting times in the world of college football and the college football playoff. Hypothetical matchups we're putting together for you here. Cato, great stuff on the spreads, bro. There was not one spread where I was like, I don't know about that. Like every single one on the money. And they say the house always wins. I think the house built by Cato would be raking in some greenbacks, man, when it's all said and done.
BetMGM, you know where to find me.
The guy's fully employed here, but if you want to get him a little side hustle, you know where to find him, all right? Cato, what do you say we move into these Week 13 predictions? and just put this week to bed that has been this week's shows on the hard count, man. You want us to get us going with a little upset action you're watching here for this weekend?
Upset watch. This is a big weekend. This is a big upset watch weekend. You know what I mean? Like last weekend we looked and it was like, okay, like Ole Miss favored by a ton, A&M favored by a ton, and little did we know they'd both be on upset watch.
Yeah.
This week, Florida in the swamp. They're a 4.5-point full home dog against Tennessee. When's the last time Tennessee won in the swamp again, JD?
2003, September 20th, 2003. But who's really counting?
Wasn't Florida just in Oxford up at halftime and for a majority of the fourth quarter against Ole Miss?
They were.
Doesn't Tennessee still give up the second or first most points in the SEC? They're right there with Arkansas, I believe.
Not great on the defensive side of the ball.
Listen, I would love. I know there are vols in my life now. Now that I live in Tennessee, there are vols in my life now. I didn't have any before, but now I do. There are vols in my life, and I would love if they got the monkey off their back and beat Florida. And this seems like a great opportunity, right? Ranked team. Florida's coach is fired. But Florida hasn't looked bad these last couple weeks, JD, and I think it's only a matter of time before they win one of these games that they keep so close. I mean, they both played Georgia close. Florida gave up a lot less points than Tennessee did. I know comparison isn't everything, but, man, Billy Gonzalez, DJ Lagway throwing some deep balls looking good. Tennessee's defense isn't very convincing. I'm not calling the upset, but upset watch. I have my eyes on the swamp this weekend, JD. And if this team they don't quit, man. Like Florida, they don't die. As long as their head coach's name is Billy, they're not quitting. So I upset watch. I have my eyes on the swamp, man. Tennessee, your strength is obviously that passing game. You got to try to exploit Florida's defense as much as you can with your biggest strength. The way they've been rotating their running backs is a little bit weird and not really letting the hot hand kind of cook, I feel like, in Tennessee. Don't take this Florida team lightly, guys. I think it's going to be a close one. I think they definitely cover that spread, and I would not put another swamp win past Florida. So upset watch, I'm looking at Tennessee.
I like that one, dude. Little heel turn from the Gator fan base and say, actually, Lane Kiffin, get out of here. We want Billy Gonzalez, next head coach in Gainesville. Take the interim tag off my guy. For Billy, man, stranger things have happened. Zombie Florida, and they're biting. I like that pick a lot. I'm going to stay in the SEC here, Cato. Old Texas Longhorns, man.
I knew it. I had this one. I was looking at this one.
You know what I'm going with this?
Dude, I want Arkansas to win so bad.
Hey, you got Desmond Howard taking out the trash in a bucket hat and some shades saying, I don't know, Texas job might become available.
Mutual parting of ways.
And then Sark comes out, I believe it was yesterday, and says, that's absolutely false. That's not going to happen. What's that conversation like when plus 9.5 Razorbacks roll on in there, a little pig suey action? There's some Razorbacks fans in the state of Texas. I have to imagine a fair amount that will be in the nosebleeds and DKR for this one. You see Taylen Green rolling in there. The last thing I want to see after I get my college football playoff hopes dashed is a dude who's 6'6" and runs at the speed of light playing quarterback. Feels a little bit like a little air out of the balloon moment for Texas after getting their lunch handed to them via Georgia. Maybe, just maybe, Arkansas picks up the pieces and feasts on the guts of Texas. Upset watch. The Razorbacks rolling into Austin, maybe getting it done. With Sark now revisiting I don't know. Maybe Desmond Howard's onto something. I'm not going that far, but I think Arkansas is one to watch there, Cato, for upset watch this weekend.
I was so close to taking this one, JD. Like I was looking into it, man. I was looking at the numbers. I was like, man, like this team should not be 0-6 in SEC play, man. 23-22 loss to LSU. 38-35 loss to Mississippi State. 45-42 loss to A&M. 34-31 loss to Tennessee. Like 32-31 to Memphis. Like this team has come so close and has beaten themselves in the most clutch moments and doesn't make it happen. But you know who was beating themselves as well last week? Texas Longhorns.
Yep.
Drop passes, penalized. If they play like that again, this one's fully on upset watch for sure. I think Texas, they look in the mirror and play to their potential. Sure, like they'll do what they do, cover, take care of business. But don't go out there dropping passes again, not helping Arch out and getting a ton of penalties in the first half because Arkansas is so live. They're so frisky. They don't exactly have what it takes to win these games, but man, they'll push you to the edge. So I'm excited. I want Arkansas to win one of these last two games between Texas and Missouri so bad because they deserve it, man. They play hard. they'll snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory every once in a while, and most of the time this season.
Do it for Petrino.
Dude, pick Suey, man. Come on.
Do it for Petrino, man. Woo pig. I'm here. I know Arkansas is like, we had a question at Media Days of like, who do you think Arkansas's rival is?
Yeah.
I said LSU, or maybe I said Missouri, one of those teams. The fact that I don't remember in itself is kind of a point to the discussion to be had. Some folks might side-eye Texas if they don't say it out loud. So maybe some rivalry juice for the folks out there in Fayetteville.
This could be the start of it all.
Could be the start, man.
This could be the start of it. Arkansas wins, Sark leaves, 2 new head coaches. Arkansas, Texas both have new head coaches, and then the rivalry starts. It could be budding. I'm just saying. Shout out Desmond.
Yeah, rub some sticks together and ignite it. I'm here for it, man.
Desmond and Sark have to have beef now, right?
I don't know what's going on with that. Again,
Be like, bro, what are you doing?
just to clear the air, I don't think Sark leaves.
No.
I trust what Sark is saying. That anything later that's kind of tongue-in-cheek on this side of things, I'd be shocked if he left. But just, yeah, you think they have to have beef? I mean, golly.
I'd have to see him. Like if
Just
like
casually as take out the trash saying,
you know how they'll do when the playoff games happen in the Natty, they'll have some coaches who aren't in the playoff like pull up to the desk and talk to ESPN crew. Like if I'm Sark, I'm like, yo, let me sit next to Desmond. Like, I gotta talk. Like if our playoff hopes are dashed and I'm not doing anything this offseason,
I'm free.
But yo, Desmond, where are you? Like imagine just like you're having a normal day and you open your phone and there's Desmond Howard taking out his trash. Like, hey, like. He might leave.
Just fine on the bucket hat, bro.
What are you?
Just fine. I'm not just fine, Desmond.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Dude. Tough one for Sark.
So funny. What else you got, Kate, on the prediction side of things for this tremendous Week 13 slate? What else you got teed up?
I got a 2-for-1 special, Jimmy.
Give it to me.
I've been the first, I think, to coin the term the ACC is the Big 12 without good quarterback play.
Yep.
I think it is. As far as November madness and the parity we see in conferences, I think the ACC has supplanted the Big 12 when it comes to entertainment value in the month of November. 2-for-1 special, man. Because this weekend we know the slate. We know Auburn's playing Mercer. We know there's a lot of boring games out there. But when all the games are boring, the ACC is delivering. Louisville going to SMU. Awesome game. ACC title stakes, big title stakes for those. Mm-hmm. And then Pitt going to Georgia Tech. Huge title stakes. These games will carry the weekend. They will be awesome games. I'm predicting close games. And I'm predicting that SMU with Kevin Jennings gets it done at home. I think they're an awesome team. I think they're the worst team in the country. And I think Pitt, after that Narduzzi talk, they have to win, right? They said they'd be willing to lose.
Dude?
They said they'd be willing to lose 100 by Notre Dame if it means they win the next 2 games. You didn't lose by 100, but now you go to Bobby Dodd, slight underdog on the road. Georgia Tech's never looked more gettable. They lost to NC State. Close one against Boston College this weekend. Pitt's just, they weren't looking at Notre Dame. They were looking across the way at Brent Key and Haynes King. So give me Pitt to win that game. Give me SMU to defend home turf. And the ACC just continues to be interesting. And feed the streets in the month of November.
Let's go. I love that take about the ACC carrying the weekend, bro. I think you're on the money. Yeah, if you're Pitt, you're like, games count now, I guess, right? But now we can play, coach? Cool, let's go run the table. Let's go handle business in Bobby Dodd, dude. Walk in your trap, take over your trap would be the thought process there. I like both those picks, man. I think those are both.
If you want to be a sicko and watch
picks.
Coastal Carolina play South Carolina and watch all these SEC teams blow over cupcakes, do it. But don't forget about the ACC in this weekend when they're in your 4-box, when they take over your entire screen, because we have big time ACC conference title race implications on the line, man. Go check them out.
Go do it, man. What else you got in the clip, kid? I want to make sure you get a chance to clear the freaking chamber, man.
Yeah, I really have one more since it was just the 2-for-1 special.
Bring it, dude.
Underrated game of the week with fun storylines and some fun narratives. Nebraska going to Penn State. Penn State wins a game finally, first one since the firing of James Franklin. All of a sudden, you're a 9.5-point favorite at home against Nebraska, playing the coach that all of a sudden has to sign an extension with his team to get to make sure the air is clear there. He loves Penn State. We know Matt Rule loves Penn State. And I think before, obviously, USC beats Nebraska, we were talking about this being the spot where if Nebraska's coming to this game, they have some playoff hopes alive. They can beat a Penn State whose guard is now down. But there's all those storylines. It's a fun matchup. But the big storyline for me, JD, is the quarterback of Nebraska, TJ Lateef. Where do you go to high school, JD? It's escaping my memory.
The Lutheran High School of Orange County, which is also my alma mater for those that are curious.
Yeah. So obviously it's in his blood. Obviously winning is in his blood. JD, TJ Lateef's last game, 13 for 15, 205 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Ran for 31 yards too. Why is this spread 9.5? TJ Lateef's playing amazing. I think if he plays amazing again and they beat Penn State, I think the quarterback position becomes a pretty interesting topic into the offseason with the one Dylan Raiola. If he hoops and they win out, I think it gets interesting. This kid's playing awesome. And I think if he beats Penn State, I don't think we've seen anything yet from Dylan Raiola that screams he would have beat Penn State if he was in that spot. So amazing opportunity for the Compton, California native and TJ Lateef. Fun game, fun storyline. I'm curious if this kid can make that quarterback battle interesting and make it even a battle this offseason.
Plot gets a little bit thick.
I'm still taking Penn State to win. But I think Nebraska could do it. If TJ Lateef plays, if you tell me he's going to play like that again, I think they cover. I think they put themselves in the game. We'll see.
It's up. It is absolutely up. I love those predictions, Cato. I love those. I'll finish this out here with not one, but like you said, 2 Big Ten. Well, 2-for-1 special here. This is Big Ten style. I think Oregon's run game is just too much, man. I love USC. I grew up in the shadow of the Coliseum, going to college football games and watching USC play ball, watching Matt Barkley, watching Cody Kessler. Like, I love the USC brand and tradition. I think college football is arguably better when USC is rolling, but here's the thing, man. Oregon, they're rolling on the ground. I just think it's too much. If I was going to get you for $1.83 SC, I think Oregon's going to be able to do something in that same neighborhood. USC is valiant. They fight hard, score points, but I just think at the end of the day, Oregon's ability to downshift and control the game on the ground is too much. Second Big Ten prediction here. Bryce looks good against Maryland. All right, maybe he doesn't wow people with the numbers, but I think he looks good enough to where if you're a Michigan fan looking at the Ohio State game, you say, okay, we get that from Bryce Underwood. It's a vibes thing. Bryce Underwood looks good enough to make you feel excited and maybe even, dare I say, irresponsibly optimistic about your chances when you welcome Ohio State to your place next weekend.
Yeah, I think the most exciting version of the USC-Oregon game is a shootout, and I think that would require USC's playmakers to make plays to the degree that Oregon is good at running the ball. Like, if you can make plays, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, love the tight end play out there lately too.
Yeah.
I think if those guys can make plays to the level that Oregon can feed their stable of running backs and fall forward, we'd have an awesome, awesome shootout. So that'd be cool. And Bryce, just be you, man. Don't be you from last week that was turning the ball over a bunch, but be you in all the other amazing plays, having a great connection with Andrew Marshall. Like, I'm excited for this game, man. The game before the game is cool. I'll have an eye on Ohio State, have an eye on Michigan, but man, I'm still feeling good about my Wolverines making the playoff, JD. And I think if Bryce Underwood puts a performance forward like he did in Wrigley, but without the turnovers, it's up and it's stuck, man. I'm excited for what Bryce has for the rest of the season for sure.
It's on and pop, man. On and popping, just like week 13 of the college football season. Cato, great stuff on the hypothetical lines, on the predictions, producing the show while you're at it, all that and more. Making it happen, brother. Appreciate the heck out of you and appreciate the heck out of y'all watching, man. Make sure if you haven't yet, you're subscribed. Only a couple more weeks here in the regular season. We're going to maximize it, and then we are full speed in the conference title mode and the playoff mode. Love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all. Dude, great freaking show.